Well, we have Susan and me, of course, and we have 5 children. We have Emily, she's 13 years old. We have David, who's 11. We have Mariella, who's 8 years old. Jonathan, who is 7. And Hallie, our newest addition, she's 10 years old.
I said, well, what about adoption? It just, it never even entered our minds. And he said, well, that's different. That'd be helping someone. And then I said, well, let's talk about it. He's like, not now, So that little crack of a window was sort of open. And so we kind of started, we didn't really talk about it, but the thought was there. And then when we went to Disney World, I just kept thinking, gosh, wouldn't it be neat to have another boy for David? And so I asked Hal to pray about it, and he did. And I remember him praying, and just during the prayer he said, Lord, all my reasons for not doing this are selfish. And I knew that he really was, his heart was being moved. And so we just kind of started looking around. We had no idea. We knew we wanted a boy, and for some reason we both felt called for international adoption. And I knew that you could get, everyone adopts girls from China, but I knew if you didn't want a perfect baby that you could get a boy. And there were so many things that aren't considered perfect, in that culture that are really not that big a deal, and certainly not in God's eyes. And so they have a lot of children that are affected with clefts, and I asked Hal about that, and he said, that's easy, it's fixable, and it just kind of flowed from there. It was just all the doors opened. And
yeah, we went to Disney World in February, and I believe we made a decision to adopt in March, a month later, so it all happened really quickly.
Yeah, I really thought everybody was going to think we're crazy, because it's not like, I always say if you took a group of mothers and homemakers and said, okay, who would be the most optimal choice to have, more children, I would not be, like, probably even in the top 3 people you would choose. I don't get to church on time, I'm not neat, and I'm not with it, but...
I think you're with it.
Oh, thank you. But I was just so overwhelmed and humbled that God was going to let us, have one of these children. Anyway, he and Jonathan continues to I just marvel that we get to be his parents.
Jonathan, he didn't want to come with us. The only life he knew was the orphanage, and so when the people that brought him to us left, he mourned, and he mourned very expressively. He was very loud, and it lasted pretty much all day, didn't it? In fact, the only thing that would make him happy is we put him in the tub and let him play in the bathtub, and he smiled and had a good time. But when he got out of the tub and when we did anything else, he was crying a lot, and it was a challenge. But Jonathan was what? How would you describe him that first day?
He had no clue what a family was, so, they've been telling him in the car ride at 3 years old, you're going to meet your mama and your baba, and he's like, mama, mama, but those words didn't really mean anything to him. And, he couldn't talk, he had a large cleft palate, and so if you think about how many consonants you make using the roof of your mouth, he was not understandable at all, and which... I think in your mind, okay, this child doesn't know me, and I'm in love with him because of all these pictures, and I have these longings for him, and he's my child. But, when you get there and there's this child with this fully formed personality, very strong-willed, because he had to be just getting his needs met. I mean, that was his world. You know, we're all like that to a certain extent, but I mean, he had to compete for, you know, everything in his little world. And so very loud, crying, just
pretty demanding.
Yeah. And I really, you know, by the end of that first day, I was like pretty stripped emotionally. I was just laying in the hotel room crying and saying, you know, basically I was like, I have given up my family as I knew it. It was like a dirty trick, you know, that's how I felt. I was like, you know, I have put my family on the altar for this child who is a total stranger to me, that I don't feel like I love or anything, you know. There was no bond there, and which, I mean, how could there be? I didn't know him, but you know, emotionally you're all revved up and everybody's so excited and he's so precious in these pictures and everything, and you get there and you're like, you know, what about my other kids? You know, my life is going to be totally changed. My family is totally changed. And so I'm laying there just sobbing, saying all this to God, and the Lord said to me, you know, Susan, that's what I did for you. And I saw myself as that orphan, you know, really. I mean, it was almost like I couldn't take it in, because I realized, wow, you know, I mean, Jesus, that was the biological child, you know, the one that God carried and, you know, had from infancy and had that bond with. And so for me, that really changed just how I viewed the Lord and what he had done for me. You know, it was words before that I believed, but then, you know, when it changed my family and me that much, then it just changed me. You know, they wear split pants over there, and he was pooing everywhere and peeing everywhere, and yeah, don't include that. Yeah. But it was really emotional. I mean, it was just like, wow.
I've never felt that out of control in my life.
Just how big he is, you know, just how his feelings for, you know, each and every one of those children, from the ones that are adoptable, that, you know, are on the child list, to the ones with cerebral palsy or other issues that are left in the bed all day and are not considered worthy to care for, that they are just as precious to him as my own children are to me. And just seeing some of those children, and I think we left part of our hearts there, and I just, you can't forget something like that, and I don't want to forget it. One thing it changed for me was that I didn't want to come back and do life in Tyler, Texas status quo anymore. You know, it's like, gosh, God's working all over the world, and I want to be a part of that, you know, in some small way. Those children over there may never know me, but I can pray for them, and there's a lot of avenues where I can see God work, you know, which is rewarding to me, but, you know, that's not really what it's all about. But he does let us have those glimpses, because we need that. You know, we need to see that, you know, he's letting us be a part of what he's doing.